has to go. Now the Marines have to go because Gavin Newsom and the leadership of LA, Karen Bass, sold out the people of their own city and sold out the federal law enforcement guys who were there trying to protect a federal building. They sold them out. They let those federal guys be attacked over and over and over and told the LAPD to stand back and not support these guys. It is crazy. And I can't even imagine being a law enforcement officer right now in LA, given your treatment, given that you keep being told to stand back and not enforce it. It's nuts. One thing a couple things that are going on that I've been thinking about that I want to tell you. One, on the show tomorrow, we've got the acting ICE director, Todd Lyons, who's going to be on with us. There's been a 400% increase in threats to the lives of ICE agents. And that's because of the American people. That's just because of the law. They've been rooting on the attacks on ICE agents. Whether or not they use that phrasing, attack them. They'll say things like, they're Nazis, they're Gestapo. And what is that message? What is the message to the weak-minded left-wing base? Attack them. Attack them. So that's been happening a lot. We're going to get an update from Todd Lyons on that tomorrow on this program. Looking forward to that. The other thing is in California, the decisions that the California leadership makes about what to actually pursue and what not to is absolutely incoherent. In fact, do you remember? I'm going to put something up on my screen here. I'm going to show you something.
Yep.
Do you remember back in 2020 when these guys when police in California were arresting paddleboarders for floating in the ocean during COVID? Take a look at this. Just a little trip down memory lane. You cut them off.
Yep, this paddleboarder was arrested after refusing to get out of the water in Malibu. CBS 2's Amy Johnson has more on the showdown near the sand.
A paddleboarder is chased down by law enforcement for being out on the water at Malibu Beach.
Oh, so you faked him out. I was going back out to sea.
All LA County beaches are closed due to the coronavirus and social distancing after crowds gathered on LA beaches early in the crisis. The incident caught on camera as the paddleboarder was taken into custody for disobeying a lifeguard and a surfer was cited.
Unreal. Unreal. I mean, just completely unreal. The guy was paddleboarding in the ocean by himself during COVID. Arrest him. How much fuel did they waste on all of the boats that they used to pursue the paddleboarder? It was a slow pursuit on the ocean going after this guy. They go after the paddleboarder. They arrest him. Yeah, that's what they did in California. And they went a step further. Remember, they filled all of the skate parks with sand to prevent kids from going outside and skating on their skateboards. This is crazy. Now, did they shut down city streets in LA to stop the riots? They didn't pour sand in front of the rioters who were taking over the 101 freeway. Right? Did they do any of that? Did they arrest rioters who were throwing Molotov cocktails to police? Did they arrest all the rioters who were throwing rocks off bridges at the cop cars? Did they arrest everybody who was attacking law enforcement, who was smashing their way through windows, who was putting spray paint on every building they could possibly find a blank space to tag up? No. And coming out of the weekend, what do we have, 56 arrests in LA? It's absurd. I saw 56 crimes in a 4-second clip out of LA. How is it possible that only 56 arrests? So this is what you get when Democrats are in charge. Absolute tyranny towards people who are literally floating on a paddleboard. They're disobeying. Floating on a paddleboard on the ocean. And an absolute liberty for violent criminals to wreck the city of Los Angeles. That's what actually happens when Democrats are in charge. Holy cow. In fact, here's Nancy Pelosi yesterday, who really needs to go away. Still, and is functionally still running the Democrats in the House, even though Hakeem Jeffries gets to pretend like he is. Here's Nancy Pelosi yesterday saying, those rioters in LA, they were just a little overly excited. Take a look here, Nancy Pelosi.
When there is a large gathering of people, the anarchists see it as an opportunity and they move in. So always have to be careful whether you see a burned car, a broken window, whatever it is. It may be the exuberance of the moment, but it may be the anarchist setting in.
The exuberance of the moment, it might just be, every when I get excited, I break car windows. I'm just like thinking about the show this morning. I was getting excited about this show. I was excited to see all of you. And I'm driving to work, and man, I'm so excited. I just bam broke a window. Oh, and then I gotta get that fixed. I have to call my wife later. I'm like, babe, I'm sorry. I'm excited. I was overly exuberant. I just broke a car window. No, no, that's right. I threw a Molotov in to demonstrate my excitement this morning. I was so excited on the way to work. I just chucked a Molotov out the car window, right onto the beltway. I was like, hey, fellas, sorry for all the traffic problems as a result of the Molotov in traffic. This is psychotic. The excuses that this lady, the excuse, everything that comes out of her mouth is a lie. I think they've been overly exuberant. They're wrecking your community. They're wrecking your community. That's your response to this.
Hello.
Hi, this is Spencer. How are you doing?
Good.
Hey, what building am I going to?
The one in the back.
Hold on. It's not it's 449.
Yeah, 429. It says there's a tap right by the front door.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going back there. So, is it the same entrance as the main building? Just that house in the way back?
Yeah, it's the same driveway. Yeah.
Hold on a second.
And they split up.
Coming. Yeah, hold on a second. Make sure I'm going to the right place here. You guys going weird. Oh, yeah. That's first entrance here, entrance B. Like right with white siding.
It's brown. Well, I don't know if it's white siding. It's the brown brick.
Brown brick. Sorry, yellow siding.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, yeah, I'm pulling it right now.
All right, there's somebody there.
All right. All right, thanks, Lord.
Yeah, if you have any questions though about the account or anything that's going on, just give me a call.
Well, I already know what's kind of happening.
Yeah.
I want to give you an update, actually.
Yeah.
So I know you were told that the line needed replaced.
Yeah.
So the line has not been replaced yet because the electrical locates that were incorrect. So we had our construction guy out here today.
Yeah.
And got back with the electric company, and then we do the locates. Once those locates are done, that's when the line will be ran.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you want, I can give you his number or something, just so he can give you updates.
All right.
If you want.
Yeah, that's fine. Can you just shoot me a text with that number?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. All right. Hello?
Hey, brother.
Hey.
Hey, I'm trying to access a previous employee's emails account, and Nate said that it might be possible via you because there's something very specific regarding the structural documents you need to get from only this one terminated person's emails. Is that something you can with?
How long ago was it?
When was Eric fired?
Oh, it's over 30 days. Yeah. Oof. It'd be tough. What I can do, but what I can do is give you an alias with his email address, and if you like to request a change of password or something like that, using his email address, it'll come to you.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Like all of his past emails will come to me?
No, well, no. Anything future would.
Oh, no.
Say if it's to get access into an account or something like that, that's how we've had to do it. But yeah, I asked specifically when he was gone. I said, "Are you sure you don't want me to have these forwarded to?" They're like, "Well, there's no one to forward it to yet." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm just going to delete it then."
Gotcha. Okay. All right, sir. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
nothing. She doesn't care. She'll just keep taking the money from insider trading. Meanwhile, in San Francisco, there are people pooping on the sidewalk to her house, on her driveway. Straight up. You got random people pooping on her driveway. And she's willing to endure the complete degradation of the city in which she lives because she's become filthy rich off of this job. She's not going to give that up. She's going to take that all away. She's going to do it forever. So that's good situation. Also, Nancy Pelosi once again lied about January 6th. We can get to that. We've got to thank the sponsors. Senator Rand Paul, so just this way. Not a lot. This July 4th, as we honor American grit and independence, Tax Network USA is helping to take back control of your financial future. Right now, they're offering lies that were told about. Oh, he was hit by a fire extinguisher. Not true. There's some lies. He died of a stroke. Additionally, there were other officers who killed themselves for suicide. And the left, later on, and the left would say, oh, that was January 6th that caused that. Really? They lie to you. They just lie to you reflexively. And so the Nancy Pelosi thing, what she's saying about the National Guard here, she claims that President Trump blocked the National Guard from coming. President Trump explicitly offered the National Guard for the events of January 6th. He wanted the National Guard there. He said, if you'd like them, I'd like to provide them to you. It was Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser, who refused that offer. No, we don't want them. And in fact, yesterday, if I can pull this up on screen, fellas, this is Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund. He was the chief of Capitol Police at the time, January 6, 2021. He says that Nancy Pelosi is lying to you. Lying to you. Now, I talked to Chief Sund yesterday on the radio show, too. And, boy, you should hear what he has to say. He was telling me that Congressman Tim Ryan was demanding that they murder more Trump supporters. He was calling Chief Sund to say, why aren't you shooting everybody? Why aren't you shooting everybody? That's what he wanted. That's in case you remember. Sorry. And then Maxine Waters was demanding all sorts of things to the point that it became tedious, and Chief Sund just hung up on her. So I'm not interested in talking to you anymore. Maxine Waters, who is now on board with rioting in her own community and all that. Here's what Chief Sund said about Nancy Pelosi yesterday. In fact, I made 11 urgent calls requesting National Guard support on January 6th, starting at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, 12:58 p.m. Approval was withheld for 71 minutes by the House Sergeant at Arms, who reported directly to Speaker Pelosi. It's Pelosi who did this. She caused critical failures, and she's now shifting blame to Trump for failures she helped create. The record is clear. Also, remember what she did with the National Guard. Do you remember what she did? She put the National Guard around the Capitol building for 6 months after January. Not to protect the Capitol building. That's not what they were there for. They were there for political theater, to pretend like the Congress was under siege, that Nancy Pelosi's life was on the line, that there were threats coming at any second. They just lied. They wasted taxpayer resources. They wasted the time of the National Guard members who were there at the Capitol building. They just wasted everything. This is how they use the National Guard. Not to restore order, but to induce chaos. That's how they use it. Meanwhile, what did President Trump do? President Trump deployed the National Guard to L.A. to protect that city. Well, that's what you want. That's precisely what you want. And he did it quick, too. Which is absolutely. Now, how are those troops being taken care of? The left is pretending they care about the well-being of the troops right now. They don't have the military. They're not big on the military. They pretend at times they like the military. They don't. They always should be military. And here's Pete Hegseth testifying before Congress yesterday. Cut forward. There's this narrative getting around on the left that somehow the members of the National Guard they're really rough living conditions. They're being treated like garbage in LA. And Pete Hegseth is saying, I was one of those guys. And I'm telling you right now, we're not treating them. We respect, we love, we honor these guys too.
Commanders and troops in the field are very well prepared, sir. They responded incredibly rapidly to a deteriorating situation with equipment and capabilities. We have made sure from the top down, as a Secretary of Defense who's been in a unit holding riot shields outside the White House during the chaos of the summer of 2020. I know what it's like to be immediately deployed into a situation like that. There are moments where you make do as best you can temporarily, but we are ensuring they're housed, fed, water capabilities in real time from my office, because I care that much about the California Guard and the Marines and the men and women who are supporting our ICE agents on the ground.
Yeah, and Hegseth, to his credit, he was outside the White House, as he just described, when it was under siege. And it was under such consequential siege that they had to pull the President of the United States, then Donald Trump, into the bunker of the White House because the Secret Service was worried about threats to his life. And Pete Hegseth was out there in the midst of all of this chaos, trying to push back, trying to protect the White House. So he knows what it's like to be in the midst of these Democrats. Okay. Let me see. Let me check with the boys first and foremost. Hey, Justin, how close are we to Senator Rand Paul being ready? Okay, we're getting very close. Okay, they're connecting right now, so we'll be connecting with them in just a moment. Before we get to the senator, then let me play another clip here for you. Pete Hegseth embarrassed one Democrat congresswoman who tried to invoke the George Floyd riots yesterday and suggested that Tim Walz had covered himself in glory or something during the out-of-control George Floyd riots. Take a look. Cut 5. Here's Pete Hegseth.
Congressman, thank you for the question. You are right. We are both originally from Minnesota, which is why I recall 2020 quite well, when Governor Walz abandoned a police precinct and allowed it to be burned to the ground, and also allowed 5 days of chaos to occur inside the streets of Minneapolis. The police precinct, ma'am, was abandoned and burned to the ground. And because of that, the National Guard was eventually far too late mobilized. And President Trump recognizes a situation like that, improperly handled by a governor, like it was by Governor Walz, if it gets out of control, it's a bad situation for the citizens of any location. So in Los Angeles, we believe that ICE, which is a federal law enforcement agency, has the right to safely conduct operations in any state and any jurisdiction in the country, especially after 21 million illegals have crossed our border under the previous administration. ICE ought to be able to do its job, whether it's Minneapolis or Los Angeles.
Yes, good for Pete Hegseth. What did he say recently? What was the phrase that he used? Oh, we're done with that shit. We're done with it.
We're done with that shit.
Minnesota, we're done with that shit. They were letting police precincts be burned to the ground by rioters. It was madness. The never-ending attacks on federal courthouses in places like Portland, that all can't happen. So let me reiterate something I said at the beginning of this week as we were watching these LA riots for the first time.
That looks like Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys.
The left is obviously but at the same time, this is a test for President Trump. He's the President of the United States. He's got a lot of power, a lot of ability to respond to this, well within his legal authorities to do that, and to restore order to the United States. And yes, we've got sanctuary jurisdictions and Democrats who are working against him. But this is a test for him. And I'm eager to see him not only step up, which he has been this week by deploying these guys, but to succeed. I want to see arrests. I want to see order restored. I want to see peace in this community. For sure. I want the overarching criminal conspiracies that are involved in making this happen. I want them arrested and charged. I want them broken up. And it's not just isolated to LA. The media are reporting on this morning because in a way they're almost bragging about it. But you're seeing now that the protests, the Huffington Post has a piece up on this, the protests are spreading all around the country. They say protests, but you know how these things go. Protests during the day, riots at night. Protests over immigration rates pop up across the United States with more planned, says the Huffington Post. And then you start going down the list. What cities are they in? Let's see. Philadelphia, about 150 on Tuesday afternoon. This is yesterday afternoon. Marched to ICE headquarters and then back to a detention center. The group then walked through what police called major roads using bicycles to obstruct officers, prompting police to issue several orders for people to disperse. Demonstrators ignored the orders. Things escalated. They started arresting people. This is happening in Philly. San Francisco, America's poop-covered city that Nancy Pelosi doesn't do anything to advance the decency or to restore. That happened in San Francisco again yesterday. Seattle, they have this going on. The usual suspects. New York City, we're seeing this going on. Chicago, once again, this is going on. These lefty-run cities. Denver, it's spreading there as well. Santa Ana, near Los Angeles, armored vehicles all on the streets responding to this kind of chaos going on as we speak. San Antonio, Texas, it's happening there as well. Austin, Texas, it's happening there. Dallas, Texas, Boston, Massachusetts, Washington, D.C. I'm flying through all of this, but that's really to convey the point that this is spreading. And that brings us to this weekend. Remember, I told you what's happening this weekend. A big military parade. We're honoring the birthday of the United States Army, 250 years. We've got Flag Day going on. The President of the United States has his birthday. The left is planning organized chaos across the country right now. What they refer to as no kings. And they're trying to get people out in the streets all across the country in order to sow more division.
Defiance. I'm gonna stop somewhere to eat first. I'll be pick some up, pick up some fast food. Yeah, I'm heading west on 24.
All right, let's dive in. I'm very eager to talk to our guest. Everybody is here from the great state of Kentucky. The great state of Kentucky.
It's a DQ.
Paul.
Ooh, DQ. We may get some.
Senator Paul, can you hear me? Good. Thank you for being here, sir. So I just want to get right into the big, beautiful bill, if I can, with you. I know that you had signaled some openness that there might be a way that you could support it. Where are you on it right now?
Going to Defiance. I'm gonna grab something to eat on the way, though. I was thinking about stopping there in Napoleon, but I think I'll just do it in Defiance.
Okay. Let me just give me a second here, Senator Paul, because I'm getting fellas in studio. Is it possible for the? Is it fixed or no? Okay, you're trying to fix it. Okay. All right. So for the audience who's watching live, we're trying to fix this audio right now. I'm frustrated. I'm trying to get this all fixed up. I was able to hear him here, and he's concerned about costs. He's concerned about spending. He'd like to see more spending cuts in this package. He indicates, he was telling me that, of course, he supports the tax cut side of this. He would like to see all of these tax cuts made permanent right now. But obviously, we want to make sure that you can hear him say that. That's the key here. That we can hear. That's really critical. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I've seen the chat here. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're the reason I was aware that there was a problem with the audio, but we just got to hold on until we can get this thing fixed. Okay, so the team is working on doing this right now, guys. Look, I guarantee you, whether it's in this format on the radio or whatever we need to do. We're going to make sure we hear from Senator Rand Paul. Okay. All right. So the fellas, you guys are anywhere closer to getting this?
Oh, I will. I'll probably be heading toward Toledo when I get done here. So not sure how late this is going to be, though.
Okay. All right, we're all settled up, fellas? Okay, good. Let's bring Senator Rand Paul back on. Senator Paul, thank you.
This is for real. This is a real take this time, right?
This is a real take this time. All right. Thank you. All right. So again, your opposition, to the extent that you still have it, to the big beautiful bill. What's on your mind?
Yeah, as I look at it, there's a lot that's good in the bill and a lot that I support. A lot of the bill, maybe as much as half of the bill, the tax, and I'd like to make them all permanent. I'm for new tax cuts that are in there. I agree with Art Laffer and other supply siders that say that when you cut tax rates, that taxes often do pay for themselves. You get economic growth, and I accept all of that. I think you should have spending cuts in the bill because we can only get spending cuts by Republican votes. There are no Democrats on the planet who will vote to cut spending, so we have to do it through this form of a bill. The problem is the spending cuts are pretty wimpy so far. One of the main spending cuts is the idea that Medicaid work requirements would come into play. But realize when Speaker Johnson put this together, Speaker Johnson put together work requirements that would begin in 2029 after President Trump was gone from office. That's the wimpiest of the wimpy reforms I've ever heard of, and really is pushed so far out that it probably would never happen. So the House Freedom Caucus pushed back, and they got it moved up. But the work requirements still don't start till December of 2026. So they're going to wait for a whole other election to occur before they even do the reforms. As a consequence, they've pushed the spending cuts out farther into the 10-year window. And one of the things they do to help with the deficit is they let all the tax cuts expire. Many of them will expire between years 4 and 5. I'm not really for that. But all that being said, I would vote for the big, beautiful bill. Imperfect as it is, I'd like to make it better. But the one thing I can't do is I can't become a part of raising the debt ceiling $5 trillion. This will be historically the largest increase in the debt ceiling ever. It's not conservative, and Republicans will own the debt. The whole argument that we are able to come onto a program like yours and blame the Democrats, deficit is gone because the spending levels are all now set by Republicans, and so is the debt. And so what I've offered is an alternative, and I've specifically talked to the president about this. Let's do a very short increase in the debt ceiling. Let's do 3 months. And you say, well, 3 months, that's not very much. It's $500 billion that needs to be borrowed every 3 months now. But I would do it in 3-month tranches because I'd say in 3 months, we'll get to the end of the fiscal year. They'll be talking about another omnibus. And I'll say, what have you done? You promised us to cut spending. What have you done? Let us know before we give you any more borrowing power. And to me, it's like having teenage kids that max out their credit cards. You should not give them more credit. You should give them finite amounts of small amounts of credit or none at all.
Okay, but Senator, if you kick this 3 months ahead, if you are in a situation where you pass the debt ceiling to a different piece of legislation, isn't that going to require 60 votes? Won't that require Democrats being involved in that process?
It can or it cannot. You can do another reconciliation bill. There's a certain limit to reconciliation bills, but they think you can get away with between 2 and 3 reconciliation bills in a fiscal year. At the end of September 30th, you'll be in a new fiscal year. You could use another reconciliation bill. But let's say you are stuck with Democrats. You know what that would mean? It goes up the way it's always gone up. Every time the debt ceiling's ever gone up in the last 20 years, it's been by all Democrats and by big government Republicans. Because they're the ones who vote for the spending, they get the blame for the debt ceiling. It's never been voted on just by Republicans. This historically will be a first, and it is a bad precedent to set a precedent that we're going to raise the debt ceiling with only Republican votes. They will own the debt, they will own the spending, and I think it takes away our moral ground, my moral ground. And the history of the Democrats is they've never voted against the debt ceiling. I'm fine with letting them vote for the debt ceiling.
Okay, but Senator, let me just talk about the core value of this legislation. You have a generational opportunity in front of you. We've never had a tax cut package that looks like this. The White House has explained that the spending cuts, to the extent that any are included in this package, and you know, of course, this is not the only vehicle to cut spending. You've got rescissions available. You have the appropriations process. They say over 10 years that this thing cuts $1.6 trillion in spending. And we are not only getting massive tax cuts, which, as you point out, is garbage when the CBO claims that tax cuts drive up deficits. They don't. Revenue goes up after the 2017 tax cuts. They'll do it again this time. The other piece is this is a massive piece for immigration. This bill would both build a real barrier and establish real security for us, and it would deport millions of illegals and give the government the resources to do that. This is an historic opportunity to pass the president's agenda that I've never seen in Washington before.
This is exactly why I've said I would vote for the bill. Separate out the $5 trillion increase in the debt ceiling out for the bill. I cannot vote for a $5 trillion increase in debt ceiling. If I do, there is no more conservative opposition. It destroys what's left of a conservative movement, people who believe in limited government and not adding so much debt. $5 trillion is extraordinary, and we are pushing the country towards insolvency. As interest rates rise, we're actually finding that in the bond market, the 10-year bond, there are less and less people wanting to buy our bonds. The interest rates continue to rise. We're up about 5% on the 10-year bond. We have enormous problems, and kicking the can down the road by borrowing another $5 trillion is a huge mistake. But if they take that off, I've told them I am a yes vote. So if they need my vote, they'll either pass it without me, and the country will go further into debt, and I'll be the virtually lone remaining voice, a few of us who are against the debt, but the bill will pass, and the debt will move on and march on. Or they need my vote to pass the bill, in which case they'll separate out the debt ceiling.
But we have to, I mean, look, I'm with you. We have to cut spending dramatically. We're $37 trillion in debt. We can't sustain that. That's got to be. But this is not the only vehicle to do that, as you know. The president can send over, and has already sent over, a $9 billion rescission.
Yeah. Here's the problem, though, is we owe $36 trillion, and we're this year going to borrow $2 trillion. You say, oh, well, that's Biden's fault. Well, actually, it's not. It started out as Biden's spending levels in December. The Democrats voted for it, and the big government Republicans. When March of this year came around and they continued the spending, they continued it at the Biden spending levels with only Republican votes. I voted no. But that spending levels voted by Republicans, led by Speaker Johnson, is going to result in a $2.2 trillion deficit this year. We own the spending levels. The party owns the spending levels, and they're going to own the debt ceiling increase. This is a huge mistake. I think it destroys the arguments of the conservative movement, and it's something we should in no way embrace. But we could still pass the bill by simply having a separate vote on the debt ceiling.
I totally agree, but your opposition right now, Senator, is jeopardizing the ability to restore American sovereignty.
It's actually just not true. I think you misinterpret things here, because I'm not stopping anything. If I were to stop the bill, they would negotiate with me. The reason they're not negotiating with me, and they're actually running a campaign against me, is because they're mad because I make rational arguments that conservatives are listening to. But I'm not stopping the bill. In no way am I going to stop the bill. The bill is going to pass without my vote. But if they need my vote, they will negotiate. If they need my vote, they can take the debt ceiling off and they can have my vote now. So their unwillingness to negotiate means they don't want my vote now. The fact that the White House is running a campaign online against me, that is proof positive they've decided they don't want my vote, and they'd rather try to destroy the messenger, because they know I have a reputation for being consistent on the debt. They know I've been introducing balanced budgets for the last 10 years, that my penny plan budgets balance within a 5-year period. They know that I'm the most fiscally conservative member of the Senate. So they want to destroy me as a person. But the thing is they don't need me. And if they need me, I'm willing to negotiate. So there's no way I'm stopping this bill.
But you're saying your vote, sure. So you're saying your vote is irrelevant, meaning that that they have enough support already. So if this did come down to that they had 49 votes and they were waiting on one more, would you be there?
Then they'd have to negotiate. And it's the same thing with Ron Johnson right now. Ron Johnson wants lower spending. So do I. So do a couple of other members. if there were 4 of us that were brave enough, and I've said this for 6 months, if 4 people were brave enough, they can make reconciliation into a very conservative product. So it's not that we can't add the spending. It's just that we have to have enough numbers for them to negotiate with. But many on the right are pillaring me and saying, just do what you're told, be part of this big, beautiful bill. Instead of saying, gosh, if he had 2 or 3 more people supporting him, he could actually make it more conservative. He could cut more spending. He could make the taxes more permanent. All the things to make this bill better are the things I'm trying to do, but I don't have the negotiating leverage yet because I don't have others to join me, and they don't think they need me, so they're not negotiating. But I could negotiate if instead of people trying to go after and attack me online, which is what they're doing, if they were actually trying to say, well, she's making some good points. What if we supported him and people were supporting Ron Johnson? Maybe we'd actually get to enough of a number. We need 2 more, then they'd have to negotiate with us.
So, but what I'm left confused by is it sounds like you support almost everything in this bill except for the debt ceiling, and that the spending cut quibbles that you have can be addressed in other vehicles, including with simple majority votes in the Senate using a rescission.
I can accept it. I can accept it and vote for the bill. It will be imperfect. If we pass it now, I predict to you that they won't, they're not going to do it now. They're not going to do it next year. These people say this all the time, so they're lying to you. They are never going to address the spending problem, all of them. I promise you, if they wanted to do it, they'd do it now. And then we have about 20 Republicans in the House and probably 5 to 10 in the Senate who don't really want to cut any spending. They are working as we speak to undo the spending cuts that are in the bill, which are wimpy. But yes, I will vote for it. But I will tell you that if we don't do more, we are bankrupting this country.
I don't know why no one jumped in the chat.
$20 trillion more in debt in the next 10 years. And so I will vote for it.
First
yes,
time I've not had anybody jump in in a long
is,
time. Notifications go out, I guess.
but I will not be a party to bankrupting this country.